I'm Josha Stradowski from Photogramas Magazine in Spain. Hi, how are you
Hey
guys?
man, all good. How are
Okay,
you?
so 20, 30 years ago, fantasy was like a second-class genre. And since since the Lord of the Rings, it's like a Champions League here. And I wonder what's your relationship with the fantasy genre, and if you have a special favorite of your own.
Yeah, I mean, well, I grew up with the Harry Potter books personally, and that was something that's kind of like grew up as I grew up with those characters. But I think the Lord of the Rings films were something that I think were quite a seismic shift in terms of like those films, and I think they brought in a lot of new people into fantasy. I think those Peter Jackson films were just incredible in terms of the prosthetics, the size, the scale. So yeah, I think that was the first time I really found myself escaping into that world fully.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
Hi, my name is Joanna. I'm a journalist for Público newspaper in Portugal. It's impossible not to mention Game of Thrones, so I might as well be the one to mention it. And it had a tremendous impact, not only worldwide and on viewers, but also on its actors' careers and even their fame. Do you guys feel that you had to get ready, or does one get ready for that type of thing before a big show like this premieres?
It's really hard to answer because it's everything is still anticipation. We've been working. We started in 2019, and because of COVID, the shooting took 2 years, and we kind of lost track of that. There was an end result, and that there was actually a show coming out, which is coming out pretty soon now. But yeah, it's. I've guessed we have had a lot of time to think about it and to anticipate it, but I can't. I just guess, you we'll have to see and wait what happens, and then until then. We can only wait and see,
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Paula from EFE from Spain. I would like to know, in fact, what do you predict? I mean, as my colleague was saying, the name of all these big sagas come out. What do you think? Do you think that the Wheel of Time can be such a successful as all these other titles that we have mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, like you said, in these, until the show's out and it's had that full reception, it's quite hard for us to predict. But I think there's a lot of elements in there that, we really believe in, and we think there's a lot of potential there. It's got, the scale of it is amazing, the sets, the stunts, the visual effects, and then you have, working with the likes of Rosamund Pike or like Álvaro is amazing. So there's all those elements there, but I guess it's just you can never really fully know how people are gonna take it and digest it. So I guess we'll find that out very soon.
But I do really believe in this show, and I think we all coming from different places all around the world and coming here in Prague together, we definitely try to give it our all, and I think there's really a heart for the story and the characters here, and real collaboration, and so that's our input, and that's all I have control over, and the output, what the world does with it, that's I guess what we're going to see pretty soon.
Hi, Valentina from Italy. It's interesting how in this TV show, every character thinks that he or she is the hero of his own story, but to other people, he or she could be a villain. So in your opinion, what makes a villain?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that's something that comes back in the Wheel of Time a lot. It's not simply good against evil. There are many shades of grey in between. And, is it really bad is someone really evil if they're just trying to, save their own lives or save the lives of their loved ones? That's definitely a question that this show brings up.
Hi, Sarah Cook from HeyUGuys in the UK. Your characters in particular are very interesting because they're just being opened up to their powers, as well as having this burden about possibly being the next dragon. How do you work with your characters in that respect?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of source material that you can delve into with these amazing books, and there's beautiful chapters that Robert Jordan has of just the point of view of like the inner monologues, where you can really understand how they're going through each stage of this journey. But I think what's quite cool that we've kind of started off quite a big journey like these characters have. It was quite a big, crazy environment when we came, and it's a new journey, and we're kind of being dragged through these different sets and new cast coming in and filming in different locations. So you're kind of growing up with the character, which is quite a unique experience, but something as an actor is really, really special.
Okay, this is what I would call epic television in a way, because of the type of storytelling and the means of production that you guys have at your disposal just to work with. How does an actor find its stance and its vibe in such a mega production as this one?
Well, I guess, especially when we started, everything was quite overwhelming. I've never worked on a production with a skill so big as this one, especially, even day one, walking into the two rivers, they built that whole village with the, hundreds of people walking around there, the animals. It's just nothing like I've ever seen before. And there are drones and there are cranes and there's so many cameras, but in the essence it's still the same thing. You can have like 5 cameras, but it's or one, it doesn't matter. It's about what you do with the performance. So I guess that's just what you focus on. It's just you and the other actor, and you try to respond listen to the other actor and try to respond in a way that you think is the essence of the character. So that's what I've said to myself quite a lot, especially starting season 1 is when I hear action, that is home, and that's something I'm familiar with, although everything around me is all very different.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Guys, you mentioned Álvaro Morte, and being myself from Spain, I have to ask you about him. Were you guys fans from Haste Home and his TV show, or did you guys, because you've just met a lot of interesting people here in the set, I wonder what do you guys thought after or before shooting?
Yeah, so I was kind of blown away when I'll be honest, all my friends were obsessed with Money Heist, and I hadn't actually watched it. I was like the one friend in my group who hadn't watched it yet. So when I met Álvaro, I wasn't aware of how prominent he was, and we went for a meal, and he had people coming up to him saying, "Professor," like asking for a picture like every 5 minutes. But I think it was a real show of his character, just how gracious he was with everyone, and he was so excited to meet us as like very starting out in our careers, and he was so willing to help, and he very much just felt like another part of the crew. He brought an incredible presence and energy for that character, and obviously his name and prestige came with that as well. But it very much felt like a collaborative process, and he was just lovely, man.
Yeah, he was. I was aware of Casa de Papel. I actually was watching it quite a lot also during lockdown with my mum, but I won't talk too much about that. More about Álvaro. I think he's a great. I'm very happy he has joined the Wheel of Time family, and I worked with him very briefly, and I'm aware of his work, and I think, but that's with the Wheel of Time. The whole time, a lot of characters are being introduced, and a lot of the world is only getting bigger and bigger. And so more actors are coming in, like Álvaro, and if something like someone like that comes in, you feel like you have to step up your game almost every day.
Yes.
So that's great. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Cool.
Rosamund Pike's character says that the strength of your powers are not only your special powers, but also your minds. So do you agree with that? And how can we work on our minds? It's not easy.
I know.
Yeah, I think in this, obviously in the story, that all these characters, as they go on the journey, they realize they've got a particular ability that they found out on their journey. But I think what they really have to figure out is their character and how they can navigate through this scary and dangerous and chaotic world. And I think a lot of the strength comes from, you know, the bravery of their friendship and their love for one another. So although they might have these amazing powers that they find, I think a lot of the power, I know from my scenes with Egwene, comes from just her bravery and her courage and things like that. So I think it's really nice to see that the power sometimes isn't actually the actual channeling, it's the decision making and the sacrifice and friendship that these characters have.
Beautiful.
With the exception of your own characters, is there any other side villain or hero, Aes Sedai or like the White Cloaks that you'd love to play or explore?
Ooh.
The Dark One.
The Dark One. The White Cloaks are pretty cool, man. Like, yeah, like Abdul, like that whole get up, the whole kind of, that whole outfit. The costumes on this are insane. Sometimes you get a lot of costume envy when you meet a new character comes in, and they've got a lot of kind of bits and new armor and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, because even like the stuff at the end when we go to like. Oh yeah, we can't say that, but don't want to spoil it. But there's a lot of characters and new cultures, and there's obviously what comes with that is different military or different royalty, and so there's an array of costumes that I get a lot of jealousy of, and I'm like, I'd love to be wearing that.
Oh, Pan and Fane.
Pan and Fane has a wicked coat.
What do you think? What makes this story unique and special?
What makes this special, Marcus?
You know what? You were talking about it earlier, and I think, why don't you give your...
Well, I really think this is special for many different reasons. For me, it is, first of all, that in this world, the women are in control, and that's very refreshing. You know, the guide is Moiraine, and she's a woman as well. If men use the power, they go mad. They abuse the power, and it's a very diverse cast, and I can feel the strength of that every day, and it's so refreshing, and I feel like that's how it's supposed to be. But what I really believe is what makes this show special are those two rivers folk, and because those relationships feel real, and those are the characters that you go on this journey with, and you're witness of everything they go through, and they, to me, are what makes the Wheel of Time special, the genuine relationships.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey